Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Games I Bought Recently. I know it's been quite a while since my last video, and I want to thank all of you for your patience in waiting for me to come back and, put up another video here. I don't really want to waste too much time explaining where I've been, why it's been so long, but what do you say we just get right into the games I've picked up and been playing? In this case, not so recently, because it's been a few months since I've done a Games I Bought Recently video, so I'm not going to include everything I bought, because there's quite a few games that I have bought, especially from Japan, that I still have not gotten a chance to play. So I've picked out a handful of games here. I'm going to start with some of the more recent ones, and then work my way down to some of the older games that I played a while ago. So let's get started with some 3DS games. First of all, yes, Pokemon X. I'm sure this is one of the games that basically everybody's playing right now. And I have to say, I'm on board. I have not really... Well, alright, here's my history with Pokemon. I was a fanatic of Pokemon back when I was a kid. I played Red and Blue. I was into collecting the cards, watching the show, collecting the figures and toys. So, needless to say, I have a history with Pokemon. But ever since Red and Blue, well, I should say, the original Gold and Silver on Game Boy Color, were the last entries in the series that I ever officially beat. Beat the Elite Four and all that stuff. Was not Heart, Silver and Gold on Game Boy Color. And ever since then, any release on the Game Boy Advance or the DS for that matter, I've just never fully completed them. I've always sort of given up on them like 10, 15 hours into them. But Pokemon X, I have to say, is the best Pokemon game I've played since Silver and Gold on the Game Boy Color. This game is so awesome. This is exactly what the Pokemon series needed, was a nice reboot. Sure, it's just a graphical overhaul, but for the Pokemon games, it's an understatement to say that that's an improvement, because this series has, it's stuck with a tradition since way back on the Game Boy, and it's really nice to see that this game the series has finally transitioned into a somewhat 3D fashion. It's not exactly what, you can do on a home console, but for a handheld where Pokemon is at its best, honestly, I mean, the console versions that we have now are just offshoots of these kind of games. It's amazing, I have to say. I'm about 30 hours in right now. I've just beat the Fairy Gym, so I'm 6 badges in, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's simplified a lot of things. I mean, the biggest thing about this that might be something that will bring back Pokemon fans that have sort of given up on the series. If you've never really liked having to train Pokemon for extended periods of time to build up your party, the new experience share option in this game allows you to raise a party in like breakneck speed. Everybody on your party, even if they don't participate in battle, is always going to get 50% of the experience, and it allows you to build up this team that, instead of wasting hours and hours grinding, which, don't get me wrong, I kind of enjoyed that in past Pokemon games, but that's also one of the things that made me stop playing them, because it was so much of a grind. It's really simplified in this. It is optional, but I have to say it's a welcome addition. It's allowed me to catch Pokemon that I want on my team, easily train them up to be, level 50 already. Most of my team is level 50 at 30 hours into the game. And I really enjoy it. I mean, online, they've really got some awesome online features in here. You can just battle anybody from anywhere, trade, all these different, powers that you can give to other players, and trading, and just, there's so much jam-packed into this game. I don't want to go on for too long, because I'm sure most Pokemon fans are already playing and enjoying this, but I just want to get the message out there and say that if you've given up on Pokemon in the past, or if you've never played a Pokemon game before, Pokemon X and Y are an amazing start or return to the series that I think it really needed, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's enough of Pokemon for now. Okay, next 3DS game I got was Etrian Odyssey Untold, the Millennium Girl, and this tells you how long it's been since I've done a games I bought recently, because my last games I bought recently episode, I was talking about Etrian Odyssey 4. So this is the next entry in the series, not even a year later, and I'm not going to go too much on about this because I've talked about these games in past videos. Old school dungeon crawler that, is known for its difficulty, but this time you can tone the difficulty down just like in 4. And it has animated cutscenes and a story mode, so if you've tried getting into the Etrian Odyssey games in the past, but the lack of a story has put you off, there's a totally new mode in here that has animated cutscenes, actual characters. You don't make your own characters, you get predetermined characters, you go through a story mode, but there is also the option of classic mode where you can make your own traditional party and go through it. I'm not too far into it. I have to say I might remake it on classic mode because I really like building my own party, but it's definitely a nice entry into the series, and I hope that more Etrian Odyssey games continue to come out in the future. Okay, next is a game that unfortunately I couldn't really get into as much as I'd hoped, and that's Mario and Luigi Dream Team. on the Nintendo 3DS. Uh, I mean, I'll admit something here. The Mario and Luigi games, be it on the DS, the Game Boy Advance, I mean, I really have struggled over the years to actually fully get into these games. I never finished a single one. And once again, the history seems to be repeating with Dream Team. It's a fun game, but man, did this game take a while to start get going. You know, I had to pick this game up several times before I can finally get like an hour session in with it. I don't know, there's just something about these games, especially this one. The humor in this one so far is not as good as it was in past entries, but there's just something about them that doesn't hook me quite as much as the original Paper Mario did. It's a good game. I haven't played too much. It's really inventive, though. I do enjoy sort of the whole setup where you enter Luigi's dreams and everything. It's or different dreams for that matter, not just Luigi. Combat is simple. It's really over the top, and it's pretty intuitive in terms of making use of, you know, both screens and everything like that. And the touchscreen stuff, I mean, it's okay. I just I don't know. I'd recommend it for people that enjoy the games in Series Pass, but for me, I don't know. Having trouble getting into it. Alright, on to some console games here, and first of all, The Last of Us, amazing game. I'm a very big fan of Naughty Dog. You know, I love the Uncharted series. Uncharted 2 and 3 are some of my favorite games, especially 2, from this console generation. So, needless to say, I was looking forward to the next entry that they had to give that was not an Uncharted game. And this game was really, it was memorable. I have to say, if any of you listen to the AllGenGamers podcasts, at first, when I started to play this, I talked about how I was not really, the story wasn't gripping me, the characters weren't gripping me in the first, you know, couple hours of the game, but man, there's a certain point that you reach in here where I was really, I couldn't wait to see what would happen next, and the thing that makes the story so unique and so interesting is it's very subtle. It's not told in an Uncharted way where it's like breakneck speed, like this stuff always happening. It's very laid back, and by the time you get to the end of the game, like you realize that the story that's been told it's so real. Like it really sticks with you, especially at the end. You know, no spoilers whatsoever, but once you beat this game, like it turns from like not an okay. It turns from a really great third-person shooter into something more that I have to say this game is at its best when it's not, once again, just like the Uncharted games, when it's not in the crazy shooting segments. I think it's at its best when it sort of lays off the shooting mechanics and just has you explore. You just walk around these empty, desolate areas where you're just exploring for like 30 minutes plus at a time with no combat. You're just finding materials to craft into different, you know, stuff to use during combat. The characters are very likable because the acting is really, really good. That's one thing about Naughty Dog's games where they use, you know, the actors in the bodysuits where they capture the motion. Like, so the actors are really acting out these characters, and it really helps sort of move this game forward from just being another third-person shooter. I can't really say too much about the story without spoiling it too much. Like, even the first 5 minutes, I know everybody says, like, oh, it's the first 5 minutes of the game, this happens in the first 10 minutes. It's not a spoiler, but trust me, The Last of Us is the kind of game where, like me, I went into it not really too much, and the first 10 minutes will really grip you, especially if you don't know what's coming. Like, it's a game that you really just want to go into blind if you can, and, you know, if you're expecting another Uncharted game, you're going to be sorely disappointed, I have to say, but for a fairly short game, you know, 10 hours maybe, it's a really, really good game. Highly recommend it. Okay, next, this here is a game on the PSP that is actually, I downloaded it, and that's Classic Heroes 2. And this is the physical copy, which actually just showed up in the mail 2 days ago. But I'm not going to get into the whole story as to why this was released so late on physical version. But Classic Heroes. I like my old school dungeon crawlers. I tried the first Classic Heroes. I couldn't quite get into it. There's just some things that bugged me about it, like lack of music in dungeons and just over complexity with the different classes. And there's just something about this game that bugged me. But I'm like, you know what? I want to support the release of traditional Japanese role-playing games on, you know, the PSP in physical form. So I bought the game anyway. Got the digital version. And I don't know, I just struggled to get into it once again. It's, I'm sure there's a great game underlying once you get past, like, how to build a team and, like, what characters go right together, but typically I enjoy these kind of games, but Class of Heroes I just for some reason struggle to get into. Maybe the other entries that have still not yet made it to America are better, but I don't know, Class of Heroes 2 is still not doing it for me. Okay, for the PlayStation Vita, I picked up more Amasa Rebirth. Now I just want to, I don't know, you guys tell me, but this is what my box looked like when it turned up from Amazon. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. Nice and dented and crushed up. I just want to thank Amazon for deciding that, you know, shipping a game like this would be a good idea inside of a big bubble envelope. Like, come on, seriously? I don't know what's up with Amazon sometimes, but they ship boxed games in padded envelopes, and then they ship me like a regular DS or PS3 game in a box. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, more Amasa Rebirth. I was really excited to get my hands on this because it's been quite a while since I have played the one on the Wii. And this is a full-fledged remake. I have to say, it looks amazing on the Vita screen. It's, wow. This is probably one of the best looking, if not the best looking game that I have played on the Vita. If you're into side-scrolling action games, especially if you've played Dragon's Crown that came out recently on the Vita and the PS3 and you enjoy that from Vanillaware, you definitely have to check out more Amasa Rebirth on the Vita. I mean, you will probably not be disappointed. It's a bit simplistic in terms of, I mean, it's centered around its combat and its graphics. Everything else is really simplistic. Like, world exploration is just, for the most part, the map layout is, it's simple. Everything is simple outside of combat and graphics. But the game is so strong in those two departments that it really helps carry everything else about this game. So if you're looking for a good action with some little bit of RPG elements in there, I would highly recommend more Amasa Rebirth. Definitely once again, another amazing game to pick up if you have a Vita, or if you're planning on getting a Vita. There's just so many games out on the Vita now, especially if you like the sort of Japanese role-playing action games. There's so much out there for you. Okay, next is Shin Megami Tensei 4. And I haven't gotten too far into this, I have to say. I played it for the first couple of days when it was out, but then I kind of gave up on it because of, well, the stuff that kept me from doing videos. I was actually really busy, and other stuff, but I'm not going to get into that. But Shin Megami Tensei 4, I have to say, is a challenging game, in my opinion, but this is a really great entry point into sort of the Shin Megami Tensei games and the Persona games. I have to say, I haven't played many of the Shin Megami Tensei games because, first of all, most of them never even made it over here, but I really enjoy it's the interface, the graphics, just the menus, the music, graphics, presentation, everything about this is so polished. So if you're into sort of like monster, I know everybody always says, oh, Shin Megami Tensei is like a mature version of Pokemon, but really that's the best way to compare it, to put it into perspective for people that have never heard of this series or sort of intimidated by it. Think of it as a mature version of Pokemon that's been out way before Pokemon existed. That, you know, it's a very mature, dark tone to it. It's the story can be confusing at times, so you have to really stay on top of what's going on in the story if you want to keep up with it. Monster fusion can get pretty darn confusing, and that's another turnoff for me that I've always had trouble with these games, and this one kind of really makes it easy. It doesn't make figuring out what you should fuse together a difficult choice, especially when it comes to what moves will carry over and everything. So I don't want to go on too long because, once again, I really haven't played this too much, maybe like 5 or 6 hours. But what I have played, I can safely recommend this to people that know what to expect, or if you've sort of been scared to try the game or the series, I think it's worth checking out. Okay, next is Puppeteer on the PlayStation 3. I went into this almost completely blind. I only saw a little bit of gameplay, and I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised by this game. This is going to be one of the sleeper hits of the year, if not this console generation, because it's coming out right before the new consoles. And man, what an amazing game this is. Most people will say, oh, that looks like it's probably going to be something like Little Big Planet, but you'd be completely wrong. The presentation in this, everything is like you're watching a stage play. There's laughter in the background. There's commentary, constant commentary from the characters. As you move throughout the levels, they warp and fold as if it was like this wooden play box that like a kid is like quickly closing and reopening the next stage that you move on to. Everything is sort of like a marionette or a puppet, obviously a puppeteer. But the presentation, if you go into this not knowing what to expect, will absolutely blow your mind. Some of the graphics in here are just drop dead amazing, and if this showed up on the PS4 with a little bit more polish to the graphics, I would say, wow, okay, that's what the next generation of consoles can do, and I will definitely accept that. That's how good this game looks. Gameplay-wise, it's a bit simplistic. It is your traditional side-scrolling platformer, but not too much to really get in your way. It's just a collectathon with a heavy emphasis on storytelling and graphics. There's an element where you have to switch out heads. You're thinking to yourself, man, what, Kid Chameleon or something on the Sega Genesis? You know, no, it's nothing like that. It's more just to unlock secrets and get more sort of like little, I forget what they call them, but like the things you collect throughout the level. It's very simplistic. Really good platformer though. It's cheap, $40 brand new. Pick it up if you can, if you like platformers. Alright, next is Dragon's Crown. I picked up the PlayStation 3 version, and recently it was just announced that there's a patch available now to make cross-compatibility or cross-play with the Vita version and the PS3 version work, which is pretty cool. It should have been in there from the beginning, but it's great that they are still supporting this game with patches, you know, a few months after it's been out. Dragon's Crown. This was probably one of my most anticipated games of the year, if not the most. I will say I'm not disappointed by it, but it didn't grip me as much as I thought it would. I played through it once with the Sorceress, and then I restarted again and started playing through with the Knight, and I tried the Dwarf. But I have to say, I didn't play it as much as I thought I would, you know, constantly online with other players. I actually found the online to be a bit overly chaotic, and there are some elements to this where, you know, it gets pretty repetitive. I mean, that's a given with you know, the beat-em-up genre, but this game especially, certain story elements really get in the way. But let's get to more of the positive. First of all, this game looks amazing. Once again, another amazing title for the PlayStation 3 that just, the graphics look like they could be next-gen. Given Vanillaware is, you know, they're really good at making these sort of 2D, hand-drawn-esque kind of games, but this one especially looks quite amazing. Gameplay, it plays a bit like a fighting game. Every character, there's different character classes you can play as, like the dwarf, the fighter, the sorceress, the wizard, the Amazon. But every single one of them plays differently, like sort of like a fighting game. Especially the dwarf plays like a wrestler. The sorceress plays sort of like a support range class. It's really interesting, and every time you play through it, a different character feels unique and fun and different. However, not every character is, you know, you really need to try every character to see which one you're going to want to play through. Interestingly enough, if you want to play online, you have to play through the entire single player by yourself first. So that makes sure that you get used to your characters, so that when you do go online, you know what you're doing. That's sort of a bad thing and a good thing, because most of the time when I play these kind of games, I really like to get in online and experience it with friends and say, oh man, look at that big dragon. You know, that's what I was hoping for with this game. So to have to do it alone and then do it again online, it kind of takes away that element of surprise and like, wow, look at that boss, that's so amazing. And overall though, I'd highly recommend this to anybody that's a fan of beat-em-ups, classic beat-em-ups, even fighting games, or if you're a fan of Vanillaware. I've heard that the Vita version and the PS3 version are basically identical, except for a little bit of slowdown issues on the Vita version, but other than that, I recommend Dragon's Crown. Didn't quite live up to my high expectations, but still a really good game. Okay, and next is Pikmin 3 on the Wii U. I can't speak too much about Pikmin. All I know is it's a new Wii U game, yay. Nothing against the Wii U. It's finally starting to kick into high power here where, you know, there's a lot of Wii U games that are out or soon to come out that I haven't picked up yet. Reason being, PS4, Xbox One, saving up for that. But it's great to see a first-party Nintendo game coming out on the Wii U. It's a lot of fun. I've only had a chance to play it once or twice, so, you know, a couple of hours in, and I enjoy it. However, I don't enjoy it as much as the original Pikmin. I don't know. There's just something about the magic of the first Pikmin that, you know, this is more of the same, which is definitely not a bad thing. It looks good. It has that new mechanic, well, not new, it was in Pikmin 2, but I never played Pikmin 2, where you can switch between the 3 different captains. I forget their names. We'll just call them the 3 different little, you know, captain guys that you can command. I've never really been a fan of games that have you switch between characters on different ends of a map. So for me, it's taking a bit of getting used to. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of stuff. The micromanagement is pretty intense sometimes, but overall, it's more Pikmin. It's exactly what everybody expected, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So fans of Pikmin, it's probably worth getting a Wii U for if you're a pretty hardcore fan of Pikmin. Alright, and lastly, well, last physical game I want to talk about is Time and Eternity for the PlayStation 3, just to show you the actual cover. Alright, so this game has quite the history behind it. In Japan, it's known as one of the worst games of all time. They absolutely hate this game. North America here, it got abysmal reviews. Like, we're talking, some places gave it like a 0, or a 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. I really wanted to play this game because it looked amazing. The graphics, the hand-drawn animation, like everything about it, like it just called out to me for some reason. So I've had this pre-order for a long time. I saw the really bad reviews and I'm like, I still want this game. So I still kept my pre-order, got the game, and I have to say, the game has a lot wrong with it. Characters, most of the time, most of them fall flat. Story, pretty darn boring. Voice acting, really hit or miss. Gameplay, super repetitive at times. The world that you explore, very, very repetitive, uses the same environments a lot. Quests are god-awful. However, something still compelled me to play like over 15 hours of this game. I haven't beat it. I really do actually want to beat this game. For some reason, there's just something about it. Despite the combat being really repetitive, I actually quite enjoy it. Like, there's just something about these one-on-one battles where it's basically timing based. It's almost like you're playing a mini game. They get really repetitive, but I have to say there's just something about Time and Eternity that had me playing, wanting to get into these battles. Maybe it was the music. I actually really enjoy the graphics in this game. I mean, some people think they look horrible. The animation apparently is like not that smooth, or it looks terrible. I think the game looks really good. And I think Yuzo Koshiro did an amazing job on the soundtrack in this, except for a track or two that are just terrible. But the quirkiness, just the different style of this game, I do not recommend this. I actually would say avoid this game at all costs. This is such a niche recommendation. So few people actually understand and enjoy this game that I don't recommend you buy this until it's maybe $10, $15. But if you want to take a risk, you're up for something different, check out Time and Eternity on the PS3. Apparently one of the worst RPGs ever. I want to quickly mention, I usually never mention digital games in my games I bought recently videos, because to be quite honest, I forget about them, but this time I kind of remembered. On the PC, I have downloaded Gone Home, which is that game where it's very controversial. It's one of those games where it's a game, but it's not really a game. It's more of like an interactive story. It's, without spoiling anything, you're a girl that returns home after, I think it was like a year or two, or a few years, I forget how long it was, and no one's home. There's just a letter on the door that says something from your sister that says, "I've gone, don't come looking for me." So it's like this mystery you get in there. It's not a horror game, but I have to say it's a pretty creepy game. I really enjoyed it. Some people thought it was a waste of money and time. Some people really praised it. I think it's great. I haven't played a game like this before. It's sort of like a... Imagine just like going into someone's home from the 90s, which I grew up in, so this this game sort of like speaks to me in some levels. And just being able to explore their house, their drawers, and just like, it makes you feel like you're invading someone's privacy. It's a really unique feeling playing this game. I recommend it. Might be a little pricey for $15 for like a 2-hour experience, but I enjoyed it. What else? Wizardry 8, I downloaded that on goodoldgames.com. Finally got a version that works fine without having to fiddle with like emulators to get my old physical copy to run. So I've really been enjoying Wizardry 8. It has one of the best character creation sequences in any RPG I've ever played, so I'm really enjoying that. A few hours into that. Oh, and I downloaded Proteus on the PC as well, and that's one of those art games where you sort of just explore, and there's no real game to play to it. You just explore, and there's music interaction and different sound effects that happen, and every time you play it's different. I really enjoyed it, actually. It was pretty unique, pretty fun. If you guys want to see me do a playthrough of that, it's not too long. I'm sure I will be able to do that for you. For the Nintendo 3DS eShop, I downloaded Steam World Dig, which is this sort of like, think Metroid, I know, here we go, Metroidvania, sort of exploration game, except there's no predetermined map. You actually dig your way through and make your own map where there's like dungeons that you find and everything, and it's pretty cool. It's a 2D platformer-esque kind of game where, I don't know, I don't play those Minecraft or Terraria games at all or anything like that, where you sort of like dig through the worlds and everything, or craft your own worlds. But I'd have to say it seems to be on the level of a game sort of like that, except instead of building, you're chipping away and sort of discovering the world itself. It's a pretty good 3DS eShop title. I'm sure there's other stuff that I'm forgetting, but guys, that's about going to do it here for games I bought recently. The next episode is most likely going to cover the next generation games. Yes, so excited. I should have a video up about that pretty soon in terms of what I'm going to be picking up and why. So, great to be back. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you all in another video here shortly.